was mentioned at the introduction, it has the greenery up, it has the Girl Scout events up. We also have refreshments out that are baked by volunteers. We provide tea and cookie and punch, and we have a gracious hostess sitting at the table, pouring tea. We have musical entertainment. We have string players, usually a string quartet of students who are invited by their musical instructor, and they come at 2:30 to play. At 3 o'clock, the library starts their entertainment, and it runs from 3 to 4. At 3:30, back at the museum, we have an a cappella group. It's a high school a cappella group. There are about 4 of them at the school, so they kind of rotate coming to the museum through the years. And then, which is fabulous because then their parents come, and these are high school kids, so they get high school kids in there too. And it's really nice. It's lovely. And then at 4:30, the UU Church has their carol sing. So from opening at 2, we have an event at 2:30. We have the event that starts at 3, one at 3:30 back at the museum, and then 4:30 over at the UU Church. So it really does allow people to travel around, and they all go over to the depot because the depot has fabulous, incredibly reasonable priced gifts that are available. And if you don't get over there by then they really have sold out. So that's a big draw too. And it's I'm trying to think, what have I missed?
Coordinating the docents.
I'm sorry.
I was going to say coordinating all the docents.
Oh, that stuff. Um, so the planning for the holiday open house starts the day after we have had one. And as Scarlett was mentioning, there's docents, but what we really do, the first thing is we advertise, we sign up for putting up signboards at 4 locations at critical intersections in town. Wayland just happens to have these huge signboards that used to be just big pieces of plywood that were painted with whatever was coming up, town meeting, special events, whatever. And organizations can sign up for 1 week during the calendar year to put up the signboards. So we snatch the week after Thanksgiving, before the holiday open house, so that people will remember that it's happening. So that gets signed up for the week after we have the holiday open house. And then in October is when I start to call docents and get a docent schedule set by November 1st. That's my goal always. My co-chair and I then work on publicity for the open house and communicating. Well, as soon as we get the date, like we did, we communicate with the other organizations so they can get the date on their calendar, so they can plan for their year and whatever they need to do as well. And then we get my co-chair gets kitchen help. She's in charge of the refreshments and making sure there are enough people to quite literally ferry cups, coffee cups or teacups and punch cups back to the kitchen to get washed and then put out again, which is quite the chore. And it's fabulous because there's so many people who are coming in, but it's quite a stream of activity going back and forth from the dining table to the kitchen and back, which is terrific. Docents are treasured individuals who volunteer for 1 hour, a 1-hour shift during that afternoon. We need 27 people. And they run the walks of life from people who are Girl Scout parents because of my Girl Scout connection, or Garden Club parents, women, or people who are connected to the museum in some way, or who've been there and have said that they would like to be considered, they would like to be called for the next year to help. And it's fabulous because they all enjoy it, and they literally act as greeters in the rooms. So we have 7 rooms, and the biggest job for the greeters is to say hello to people and smile, and then sort of step out of their way so they can see what there is. And then if there are any questions about what is there, the greeters have been sent information about the contents of the room. And as well, there is hanging in the room basically a full-size sheet that has information that the greeters have been sent about the different items in the room, particular items, not all, and just a little bit of history. And that's really nice because if the greeter is a substitute, because we do have people who get sick and then we have subs come in, there is always a ready reference there for somebody to look at, and it's available for the people who come through, obviously. There is also an activity for children. I don't know if Kay is on right now. Kay Gardner Westcott is our house manager, and she in a prior chair of the Historical Society had developed a activity for children, and it's basically a scavenger hunt. And what they've done is they've just provided a little box. This is round, but it's sort of like this size, a little box with slips of paper inside, and it has clues about items in the room. And children are invited with their parents to read it and guess what that is. And if they're having some trouble, the docent can help. And then if they guess, and they all guess, of course, because we're going to, make sure that kids are really energized about this, as are the parents, they'll get a sticker. And sometimes the stickers are just general, wintry themes. Sometimes they're really nice and glittery. Sometimes they're glittery and sparkly, whatever there is to energize them. And at the end, if they collect a sticker from every room, there's a little prize. And kind of the goal is every kid gets a prize. So they go away happy. The parents are thrilled. They want to come back next year because they remember it. And it's wonderful. The garden club is really, in some ways, the driver of getting people through the house, because people are excited to see how the rooms are decorated and what touches the garden club has put up. And every year it's different because different women will and the garden club has one man, so I'm going to say that it's women. So it's different women are putting up, are volunteering to decorate different rooms and just get inspired by different things. Many of us go to the Concord Holiday Tour, which benefits the Concord Museum. And so we see what is happening in those homes as well, and you get different ideas. And then you come back and provide, different things. We take photos of what has been put up so that people can also, the garden club members can also look back in time to see what there was and get some ideas from the past. One decoration that I really remember was a centerpiece for our dining table, which was a cake plate, a cake stand. And it was glass. It had a fluted bottom. It had a flat glass top, and it was cut around. And so the cake top, or the plate top, had a lip hanging down. But when you turned it upside down, the lip is vertical, and you could roll cranberries in there. You could fill it with cranberries. And the woman who made this took the fluted bottom, which was hollow, and filled it with sprays of greenery and then red roses. And it was incredibly festive. And then she had more greenery around the table, and then the refreshments went around the table. And then the garden club members will lightly decorate the windows, decorate surfaces, always with a little bit of plastic underneath them to protect the surfaces. And it's neat. I think so many people look forward to this because they have come through it with their children, and people who have children who are grown up have come through it, so they come back. It is often a place where people come in and then turn the corner and see somebody they haven't seen, like in 6 months to a year. And just the joy that you see in people's faces and the conversations that you hear in the different rooms is absolutely fabulous. And it's the happiest time of the year. It is just the start of the holiday season in many ways. I mean, we're not quite as crisp and cold as we have been in past years, which is welcome. And yet it would be nice to have a dusting of snow outside when this happens. But it is just such a happy time that you can really forget about today, and you walk into a room or into the house that is old, and you're looking and pretending almost that you're going to be seeing a homeowner somewhere in one of the other rooms. And you just poke. And each room on the first floor is basically different because they were there from, I'm going to say constructed, but not quite constructed, at different time periods. And maybe Jane could speak about that in a little bit. But one room is, as far as the garden club is concerned, One room is basically early American. It has a large spinning wheel in it. It has more older period furniture, a clear floor. Another room is, I'm not quite sure how to characterize it, but it is later in time. So it'll have a little table. It'll have a secretary desk. It'll have some smaller tables against the windows. And so it feels much more lived in. We have a room that the garden club always considers it the fancy room. And so there are the herd room. So it has more, occasionally it has more edgy decorations put up, which are always a surprise. And sometimes the garden club members just look at you as like, this is what we've done. It's like, that's the room that has something that could be brought in that's a little contemporary and different. And then the bedrooms upstairs, which are lovely and just highlight different points of what it was like to live, hundreds of years ago. There was something else I've forgotten what I was going to mention, but I think that in a nutshell is it. The house gets decorated by the garden club members and Girl Scouts the Friday before the event. The house is open on a Sunday. The Monday after, it's all taken down within like 2 hours. And everybody takes their decorations home and puts them up at home. So it's people are making things, but what they're doing also is looking at what will really highlight locations and spots in the house, but they're taking it home to enjoy at their own homes as well. So is that
was
that was a lot.
fabulous. I'm
That was
hearing, I'm envisioning an event that not only, really engages your staff, your membership, your volunteers, but also members of the Wayland community,
oh yeah.
family members of the Wayland community, but also other organizations and businesses. I love that this has a public service component,
Mm.
both, for the Girl Scouts to do some of their own public service work, but that these beautiful decorations then go to people who might not be able to decorate like that themselves, and brightens their holiday. It's nobody's just tossing all the greenery at the end of the season. It's going someplace where it's also going to do additional good, and I think that's an incredibly broad, that program is carrying a lot of
Yeah,
a
we
lot
hope
of
with that.
community goodwill, in
Yeah.
many ways, which is, it's, I think, what we're hoping for our holiday programming. It's a season when we do want to promote that kind of good feeling and happiness and community feeling. About how many people, do you have an idea how many people go through?
Yes. So it was more pre-COVID, and this year there was 175 that were
Wow.
counted as coming in. And I had checked with our kitchen staff because there had been. So what also happens is when docents come and kitchen staff come, they are directed to go straight up the driveway of our house and enter through the kitchen door, which is to the rear. Sometimes people, for some reason, I guess probably what happens is guests will come and they will see people going to the rear, so they will enter as well. But we have a little arrow, a little sign that is a 3D arrow with a stand and upright and a point that they see this and they're supposed to turn onto the walkway and walk to the front door. And we have a greeter at the front door inside the door, but that's where people are supposed to go in. So some people were noticed, I think a few more than usual were noticed coming in through the kitchen. And my co-chair, when I checked with her, Jane, said that as soon as she saw people ducking in the side instead of going to the front, she counted heads and then ran to the front and told the greeter to click them in. We do have a hand counter to count the numbers, and we check the numbers every hour because the greeters at the door switch every hour. So it just gives us an idea. Yeah. So there were 95 people who came the first hour, and then it was basically the same, split for the next 2 hours.
If you come through the kitchen, you just have to wash cups. That's all there is to it. They'll learn. Is this an event that's gotten bigger over time, or has it been consistent for a while? Or, have you been able to add as it goes along? Have you said, hey, let's add this next year? Or maybe this was a little too much, let's back off, or, how have you,
So in
pretty
terms,
much now got its path that it runs on?
in terms of activities that are done at the house, or in terms of, or participants in setting it up, are you thinking?
Both. Like, when you think of organizing this, do you sort of have your roster?
Yeah,
We got to call the high school, we got to call the Girl Scouts, we got to call the Garden Club, we got to call the Unitarian Church, that kind of
yeah,
thing? Or did you say, hey, this year, let's have music?
yeah. Oh, no, no. Well, actually, since I've been involved, there's always been music, and I'm trying to think if it was only one group at the time, and then I don't recall whether there was one group at the time or there always were two groups, because my kids were also involved in music at the high school and middle school. I was always talking with the a cappella, instructors and the musical instructors. So I think that it has basically found its groove. And we tried at one time to have three musical groups, because what we do find is we need to have the string players at 2:30. They go on to other things. And then the a cappella group had wanted to come later. And if they come too late, then not everybody, but many people will walk off and go to the Unitarian Church to do carol singing. So we did try one year to have like an in-between group, and there was an adult group that we thought would be really nice to have sing. There was a female a cappella group that were fabulous, and they sang for a few years at different events. And then they came to the Grout Herd House one year. Ann Gordon was in that group, and Kay. I can't remember the other women. And they were wonderful. And then they broke up. So that that was that. And then we relied on the kids afterwards. Girl Scouts have been very reliable with what they're doing. We tried the Boy Scouts, and we've got Girl Scouts who are coming and doing their thing on a regular, very regular basis.
Yeah.
So we have not expanded it beyond what we have, and feel that right now it's plenty. And I wouldn't want to do less, but doing more makes it tighter because it's not a big space.
Right.
During COVID, we had to modify what was going on, obviously, as everybody did. And the museum was closed for 2 years during the holiday open house. There had been a discussion about it. The first year it was just closed. It was 2020. 2021 it was as well. And we had instead the tree out on the front lawn. So there's not a huge front lawn. There's, the house is sitting on, there's an edging to the road, there's a sidewalk, and then there's a lawn. So the tree was set up on the lawn. It was decorated. There was some decorations in the windows, but the inside was not decorated. And we did a food drive. Girl Scouts held a food drive. And because of the weather, it's got to be things that are bagged or things that are canned, not paper things necessarily. But that was successful as such. And we also had little goodies that were bagged up that people could take. And I don't recall whether we had those tied onto the tree or if we had those on a surface that we had put outside. I just don't recall.
Yeah.
And then, so that we did that for 2 years. So it's 20 and 21. 22, we had the house open, but we did not serve punch and tea and beverage and treats. What we did instead was we bagged treats and had them out on the dining room table. So they're all in like little cellophane bags with a little ribbon on them, a little bell inside, some candies and some other treats in there, so people could come through and take that. And it was still a time when many were masking, so just being very cautious for the public and for everybody who's there. And then, so that was 22, 23 we were open fully. And then this year we were open fully. And that worked. We did try, or the museum tried having the house open on a Saturday, because this event happens on a Sunday. The Saturday before, the house is set up on a Friday. The open house is on a Sunday. And so Saturday has just been a day that it has not been open. And the house, the society decided to open it. I've forgotten if it happened for 2 years. I don't think it happened for 3 years. Attendance was low, and that could be because it is not the high point. People don't expect it, and no, there are no refreshments that are served, at that time. And finding 27 people to staff the Sunday is a lot. And then it's just finding other people to staff Saturday if the society wants to open it on that day. But we've always through the years thought it was kind of unfortunate that the house wasn't open on 2 days. But that's what's
Aida,
yep.
There's so much.
Aida, there's Kay, and I just wanted to clarify that the Saturdays we invited new members to the Historical Society to come in. That's why we had a limited number, and we really didn't need the docents. We could take them around ourselves.
Okay.
The staff could.
But with all the activity going on Sunday, that's the more tempting. That's the more tempting event, even if the house, unless you can't come Sunday or, don't like all the crowding, you might want a quieter experience. I think people would devolve to the Sunday. That sounds like your biggest event of the year?
Oh, yeah.
I'm assuming,
Yeah.
because that's a lot of work. Is it your first event of the year? Do you start
No.
earlier in the fall with you have other programming in the fall?
The museum does. It
Yeah.
has an educational program and has other events. It's a calendar of events. I think there's one thing a month at least.
Yeah, that's right. Because I get your notices, and you usually have, talks and things like that.
Yeah.
Let's hear from the rest of you. What do you do for your own? Do you have a holiday celebration? What do you do for your own holiday celebrations? And especially interested in how you handle the increasing diversity in your communities. I can guarantee you 35 years ago, we were straight up Christmas. And, Needham has a large Jewish community. It has a large Asian community, especially South Asian. So big celebrations in Needham now are Christmas, Hanukkah, Diwali. There are significant community celebrations. Do any of you have holiday programs? First of all, what do you have for your holiday programs? And secondly, do any of you have holiday programs that reflect some of the diversity in your communities? Someone must have a holiday program. We do a sale. It's straight up merchandising. It's actually our biggest sale of the year because we do have a gift shop that also has a sort of high-end thrift. We take donations of silver and china and crystal and things like that. And over the holidays, you're getting ready, especially once Thanksgiving hits and you got company and you realize suddenly that you don't have enough glasses or you don't have any platters or plates and things like that. So that's sort of our big focus for the holidays. We have tried open houses in the past and they've not been successful. They have been nowhere near as energetic as Wayland's. So we sort of let that go and mostly focus on the holiday sale and then, refreshments and socializing around that. But the focus is the sale. What happens in some of your towns? Okay, so Sally, what kind of facility does Sudbury Valley Trustees have? You said you don't have a holiday celebration right now.
Right. Right now we kind of stick to the winter solstice to keep it with the natural theme. But we do have a barn on the property that is currently not used for much. It has drawbacks. There is no heat, there are no bathroom facilities right now. So we're talking about what could we do, and I don't know if the when is anytime soon, but just thinking about more ways the community can utilize the resource. It's right on the border of Wayland and Sudbury, not too far from the Grout Herd House. So that's why I hopped on today to kind of get some ideas that I could bring back to the group. So
you're looking to sort of create, expand,
yeah,
generate a new program that will. Claire dropped a note into the chat. She says she can't talk about it because she has laryngitis. I'm sorry. Hope that goes away before the holidays. But did put it's the Winter Frolic in historic Deerfield. And she did put a link in the chat. So if you want to take a look at that and see what goes on in historic Deerfield, there's another opportunity. Does anybody have any other form of sort of decoration, open house? Our women's club used to actually do an open house, a holiday house tour. People would decorate their homes and people would travel around and go into the homes and see the decorations. And we partnered with them for years. They would open the program here, which brought a lot of people into our place. And then because you had to come and get your ticket, and only if you had a ticket would you have a list of the houses. So that would, limit the traffic through the houses. But after COVID, people didn't want people traipsing through their houses anymore. So it was done. It's now an outside decorating, sort of a drive-by. You get the list of the participants, you vote on them, that kind of thing. So that hasn't impacted us, in the same way. But we did have this partnership with the Native Women's Club prior to COVID that was also quite enjoyable. And they still decorate. They do a lovely job. They decorate the house for us every year. They started doing it so it would be decorated for the house tour. But even though they don't do the house tour anymore here, they do still decorate the house, which is very kind of them and generous, and they do a beautiful job. Anybody else? Who else has programs for the holidays? Or not? If you don't, let us know that. Why, what was the decision behind not having a holiday-based program?
So actually, my site, which is located in Roxbury, is surrounded by a community of Jehovah's Witnesses. So we don't do a lot of holiday programming in order to be more, accessible, because we did for a long time and found that no one from the immediate community was attending. Because Jehovah's Witnesses don't celebrate holidays. So our holiday programming is actually just very history based. We just have what we call an open house with a little, maybe greenery and very general holiday stuff that could be taken in a holiday light, but also could just be
Wintry,
fun.
not Christmassy.
Yeah. Could just be fun stuff.
Do you do anything around the open house? Or is it just basically open hours, refreshments, that kind of thing? Do you add music or anything that's a particular draw?
We do offer caroling, but we do it toward the end so that if folks want to, duck out and not participate in the caroling or not be there for it, they don't have to.
Does it bring in a lot of people? Is it a successful?
I would say we've just started doing the more winter themed than Christmas or holiday themed in the last 2 or 3 years. So we're still seeing a lot of growth with it. But it's not so much how many people it brings in, but more the makeup of the event, seeing it transition from our board and our members who are from more suburban Massachusetts to folks who actually live in the immediate vicinity. So we're seeing an uptick in local attendance.
Excellent. That's we all strive for. Ryan Connery, who's at Essex Heritage, dropped a note in the chat, says we work with several museums and historic sites that have holiday events. Historic Salem just wrapped up their Christmas in Salem house tour, and the Creative Collective, you just moved this, is hosting a Hanukkah festival at Old Town Hall on December 26th. Most of the sites we work with host very traditional Christmas themed programs like tours and decorating. I don't know, Ryan, you want to comment on this, or are you on audio right now?
Yeah, I can comment.
Yeah. Okay.
So as I mentioned, I work for Essex Heritage. We are a regional organization that represents the Essex National Heritage Area. So all of Essex County, Massachusetts, 34 towns and cities. So we don't host any programming ourselves, but we work and partner with a lot of sites in our area that do holiday programming. And the Christmas in Salem house tour is one of my favorites. They do it every year, and they pick a different neighborhood in Salem to focus on, and homeowners will open up their houses for tours. They'll decorate. They get, I want to say, over 100 volunteers. And it's really their biggest fundraiser of the year. So it's a small, organization, but this really helps them for the rest of the season, with what they raise through ticket sales for this tour. And it also shows off some of the historic houses around the community. The Hanukkah festival is actually something new that Creative Collective, which, if you're not familiar with, they're an organization that help creative businesses, so individuals, but also small businesses, partner together, find financial opportunities, work with municipalities to get work. And they're bringing together artists, dancers, singers, crafters, for a Hanukkah celebration, which is the first one of its kind in our community. So looking forward to that. Something new.
Yeah. So that's another sort of another approach. Instead of homogenizing a single event, have multiple events that speak to different parts of the community. Yeah, no, we try and stay fairly neutral. It's mostly sort of winter organized. For us, one of the this is sort of the unforeseen consequences. One of the highlights of our collection is an N.C. Wyeth picture of his grandfather shoveling snow, and it always has had two titles. It was originally a magazine cover published as Christmas Morning. But it's one of our iconic objects, and we use an image of it to create holiday cards. And so to make the holiday cards more broadly appealing, we use the second title, which is also a legitimate title, which is Winter. So we've kind of had to sort of rethink what we produce, how we approach, because we do have a fairly wide and diverse membership, and we want everybody to participate. Was Scarlett, your hands up?
Oh, thanks. To that point too, right? I know a lot of us are familiar with Ken Torino's work and the reinterpreting Christmas. But I'm reminded of, the Shapiro House at Strawberry Bank, where, it's the smell of latkes, right? And I think the lovely thing about the open house at the Wayland Museum and Historical Society was you walked into one of the rooms and it's this beautiful, like, aromatic scent, right? It's really unique to have, greenery in the museum and have that that kind of like smell where you're like, oh, this is lovely, right? Like, it's a different experience and a way to think about how you activate history with senses and sensory behaviors. So I'll drop a link to Ken's book. I'm sure most of us are familiar with it.
Yeah, but we talk about the smell of gingerbread or baking, or the pine scent of your Christmas tree. It's very much tied into the holiday experience, those scents. Do you do any actually, let me catch Betsy first, and then I've got a question for Aida. Betsy.
I have to sign off in a minute. So couple of things. We in Long Meadow have not done holiday events because up until a couple of years ago, we didn't have heat in the winter.
Ah,
so now we have heat and air conditioning.
Seasonal
that makes
houses,
a difference. Yeah, that makes a difference. We also were somewhat reluctant to get in that battle of, they didn't celebrate Christmas at the time of this house. So how do we interpret something that didn't happen? And thirdly, for the curatorial angle of, do we want to allow live greens or food and drink in the house? So this year, for the first time, we got a little artificial tabletop sized Christmas tree. And that's been our first foray into holiday anything.
I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with Long Meadows. Is it set up as an historic house, a period house?
Yeah, some of the rooms
Okay.
are exhibit spaces and most of the rooms are period rooms.
Okay, so you have period objects that have to be
Yes.
carefully curated, where, we have everything's under in cases. The house is 1834, but the exhibits are not house period exhibits, so we have a little more flexibility there. Sally, your
Oh,
hand's
I
up.
was gonna start a new thread, my question for the
Go
group.
right ahead.
Oh, is that okay? Oh,
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
does anyone have any experience with sort of pop-up events? I'm thinking, when if we finally get snow, then that lends itself to opportunities with places that have land and fields. But has anyone done something like that, like called together a pop-up party really quickly? Thinking you'd have to think about safety, getting numbers there, and how to get the word out. And that's kind of what I'm looking for, how to get it done effectively. Like all of a sudden, if there's a big snowstorm and we want to have some snowman stuff and snowshoeing and things like that, but related to the holidays. Has anyone done that effectively?
No. But we find in terms of communication, our Facebook gets to people fast, our Instagram gets to people fast. If you could partner with, and our Facebook, I think, has about 1,500 followers, and our Instagram is something similar, but there's actually a Needham Facebook. There's the town of Needham, like the town's official Facebook page, but there's somebody who started a more social Needham Facebook page, and that's got, I think, 18,000 followers, 18,000 likes. So if we can get, we have something that's shorter notice, or we think of, broad appeal like that, we can get it to them as well, which means we've got, we're seeing, you've got maybe, 25,000 pairs of eyeballs, which is a lot for an event, and you can move fairly quickly like that. So, using not only your own social media resources, but develop a series of relationships where when you have something quick, you can launch it really fast and just say, look, the snow is here, let's go. And, try and get people to move quickly. That would be kind of
Thank you.
fun, especially for the trustees, to use those resources,
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Thank you.
Waiting for the phone to stop. I'll be right back with you.
I saw in town that there's a pop-up sign for like an event this weekend. So I think even just like signage, it's a little bit like guerrilla signage too, right? But like what you can.
Yeah. Get those signboards. Of course, you're not in Wayland to get those signboards out, but they're, and the other thing too is Needham has some electronic signs. They used to be the things that the DPW put up, to say, road work ahead, or paving next week, be prepared to find an alternate route. But they've now allowed groups in town to use them for announcements. And, they just sit by the side of the road by the, near the fire station or on some of the bigger intersections, and, can flash, tomorrow only, bring your snowshoes and make a snowman, or, you can sort of see if the town would provide, they're not gonna do it free for every event, but they might do it for special events or short notice events like that. So, see how that works. The question I was gonna ask is, does anybody use this for fundraising?
We do not.
So yours is basically friend building. I hate the friend raising. I really hate that expression, but yes.
Community building.
You're getting exposure to the community, you're getting relationships with other organizations in the community, and you're hoping that they come in, for other other events later, or say what a great place and become a member and support it, but you're not directly. Do you charge for this event or is it free? It's free.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. And I assume that Ryan mentioned that Salem's is a fundraiser. So, you know, but Salem also has, historic Salem has a very big catchment. You know, people come from other places to Salem for their resources, for their seasonal events. They don't come to Needham for our seasonal events. You know, Needham people come to Needham seasonal events, but people don't come across country to see our holiday. Alas, they don't come to see our holiday sale from far and wide.
You know, can I, so I mentioned the Concord holiday house tour during, and I'm sorry about the phone. So during COVID, what they did was they did not have the interior house tour for the public. They had a docent go into the homes, however, and do a walking tour of the homes. And I don't recall how many, if they did their full 6 houses or not, but you paid to get a link so that you could watch the docent going from house to house and talking about what there was.
Well, that's
And
interesting. So they live stream?
yeah, yeah.
Cool.
And it was fabulous because again, this is 20 and 21 and everybody's kind of stuck at home and everybody's worried and nobody's sure, you know, what's happening next. And it was fabulous. So, you know, so I think it was Salem mentioned that maybe the house people don't want people who have homes may not want people in their homes.
That was
Yeah.
the situation now for
Yeah.
us for the
Okay.
Needham Women's Club house tour. You know, people got very skittish about
Right.
just opening their doors for people to walk in.
Right, right. I wonder if that could be something, and as a donation to the society, maybe get a link to watch somebody.
Yeah, well, for the Women's Club, that was their main fundraiser of the year.
Uh-huh.
The tickets to that were their main fundraiser.
Yeah,
But yeah, that's actually an interesting approach, which I hadn't.
it's a
I'm sure
twist.
they hadn't thought about either, because I know they're having, you know, now with the drive-through, that's very hard to raise funds off of because people can just simply get in their cars and drive around.
Right,
You know, it's not the same. Whereas, you know, access to the houses required a ticket. And you had to pay that, but a video walkthrough, you know, and a ticket that's essentially the link
right.
is an interesting possibility.
They did the same thing for their garden tour those years.
Hmm.
People were not invited to come to the gardens, but they had the same woman tour the gardens and speak about what it was.
Yeah, I think our garden club did planters.
Yeah,
You know, which were, you know, they do these special, you know, really some of them were beautiful and elaborate, and they'd be outside so you could go and see them but without entering the houses and maintain distances and stuff.
right.
Yeah. Jane.
Yes, my experiences with the Wayland Historical Society for many, many years, and I did look up and remember that the initial celebration of the holiday was a Christmas open house and somewhere in the 80s it seemed to turn over, but it very quickly, under the auspices of the Wayland Historical Society, it did very quickly become a larger event, a town center event with a number of, so, you know, a lot of credit goes to that. I also want to say something that I'm the one that attends for many, many years and totally as somebody who just doesn't put in a lot of work for it. I do volunteer, but nothing like the people that organize it, like Aida. And to hear Aida speak of it in such glowing terms, and I'm hoping that sometime during this year, people will look at the recording and think that there's a tremendous amount of work that goes in it. But when you hear Aida and how happy she is, and how satisfied she is, I think there is just so much that you get out of doing something like that. For me, it's pure enjoyment. So I don't work hard and I just love it. And it's just a fabulous, fairyland where you just walk into another time and place and people are happy and eating. And we do not permit food to go through the house, by the way. We only allow food in the one room. But, to hear the joy of somebody who does really work very hard on it and get so much out of it. I think that's just a tribute to how very wonderful it is. And I even remember Aida predecessors who did it for many, many years, even before she came along, and she's now over 20 years. So I just really think that there is just a feeling that of pure joy that you get and as a community and not as and I'm not saying, Sudbury, I went to Sudbury's open house, for example, at the History Center, and they do have a gift shop and you had the option to buy, but you certainly didn't have to buy. And I just was speaking to their director and she said that people actually came back later during the week to shop because they felt that that was an opportunity and that they could just enjoy the activities that were going on there. So just for my 2 cents, if somebody wanted to put my picture up, I will be happy to show you a picture of this is one of the special rooms in the house. It is the toy room.
Oh,
And in among the toys are my 3 granddaughters. And the biggest one is now getting her master's in ocean engineering. The one dressed like her is a junior in college, and the little one is a freshman in college. So it's testify to how beautiful and wonderful it is. And that's a magical room, the toy room for kids and adults. So just want to put in my 2 cents.
Scarlett's got her Zoom game going great here. Just floated. She just, I don't know if you saw your screen, she just floated the hearts going through.
Oh.
So anyway, just tremendous
Yeah.
thank you to Aida and Joanne who co-chaired this year's event and just make it look effortless when there's an awful lot of hard work that went into this, effortless event.
And I think one of the things that makes it so attractive is you have other organizations participating. So it's also their constituents who are aware of it and who are participating. They may be, say, members of the Unitarian parish who are primary, whose primary point of contact is the caroling, but since they're there, they're going to go see the other stuff. Or maybe a high school parent who's there because their kid is performing, but they're going to come see and so you've broadened the network that way in a way that's really productive and just brings in people from various, not just history buffs or just your members.
Yeah.
One of the things we're thinking of for next year is the possibility of a Christmas market. Just to do something to bring in, because we have actually a really good arts community in Needham, and their main event is in the spring. They do the Open Studios, which is the first weekend in May, and a couple of them do a sort of pop-up sales, but it doesn't get the same kind of publicity that Open Studios is a whole big, it's a whole big organization. So it's got all the publicity behind it, the brochures with everybody's address and their specialties and things like that. And some of the artists do some holiday sales, but they're getting the word out is a lot harder other than the people already on their mailing list. So we were thinking of doing maybe a Christmas market and bringing in some of the arts community to sell, to offer and sell some of their own materials as for gifts.
Gloria,
Yeah.
this is Kay, and I just want to comment
Okay.
on further comment on Jane and what you said. if you're looking for a theme, we kind of discovered that what's being celebrated in December, which is solstice and Hanukkah and Kwanzaa and Christmas, all have light as a common
Mhm.
thing, candles or
And
outside.
Devon.
So we had luminaries leading up to the house this year, and inside that part that the Historical Society, our signs are all have candles on them and so forth. But it's a multi-generational, as Jane and others have pointed out, that that go through the house and come back because they had such a good time. We had someone comment that, oh, my kids are preteens, but they love the scavenger hunt. They love looking for things and then finding out what they are or why they're there and so forth. And that's what brought them back year after year. So that's been a real positive when I say multi-generations for the kids as well as for the adults and the grandparents.
Yeah, and the little kids come and then later they're in high school and they're performing or they remember what they did, as smaller kids and have, a happy memory that brings them back.
But it's something they can share with their parents and their grandparents
Yeah.
by coming back with them and year after year.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that just sounds like a wonderful event. Jane.
I just wanted to say, as far as being able to purchase anything, that you can do at the depot, which is a consignment shop and for the town, and it's right across the street. And we do encourage people to pay them a visit while they're,
Yeah.
up at the town centers.
Do you have a gift shop at all in Wayland? Do you sell
Depot.
books?
Yeah, the but
Depot.
we sell some books. Somebody else can. I don't know if there's any thought of expanding it, but at the moment we sell books.
Yeah, it's we're so crowded that we don't have space so we sell books there, but we also have books on consignment over at the depot. And like our Wayland A to Z almost always sells out at the holidays because people love it so much.
There had been a gift shop in Wayland, but it's in a plaza that is now empty. So it's, the Whole Foods Plaza.
Yeah.
That was the only one that we'd had.
So yeah, so they've got a good niche as well.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any ideas or comments?
I'll just chime in, week 3 as the new ED at Wayland Museum and Historical Society. And I'm so grateful for Aida and Jane and Kay. I know Sherry Ann was on earlier, but, coming in to kind of this event being fully planned, fully coordinated. It's been running for, over 40 years. It's a really great way to kind of build community and, bring, like Kay was saying, multi-generational activity with the high school, the Girl Scouts. So I've benefited greatly from it, and I'm just so appreciative for all the work that's gone into it. So thank you, everybody.
I think the best part about being ED is you get the credit for stuff you haven't done. You've got these wonderful volunteers and they do this really hard work, and then people see you later and said, "Oh, I loved your Christmas program." And you go, "Thank you." All I did was show up.
The open house
we
is
have to take, you do the work, we take the credit. It's a great job.
There's also an opportunity during the open house to highlight different collections of the museums. And I forgot to mention that. We do have a display case that's in the Heard room. Then we have one that is in the Stone room. And I don't recall if we had one that was in the Draper room or not. But these are display cases with items inside them that are brought out for this event. And that's fabulous.
So you do essentially small special exhibits, special cases.
Yes, but I want to say thank you, Kay, and thank you, whomever else does that, because that isn't something that the volunteers do. That is something that staff members do.
And does that vary every year? Different every year?
Yes,
Well,
it is. Well, it sort of is, yes.
Yeah, holiday themed, I think.
Okay.
But what's great is that it also illustrates what is available in the museum, of course, but like a range of time of things that are in there.
Yeah.
So that's really nice.
Yeah.
And this is New England, and people still, regardless of your heritage, regardless of your faith, people still like to see what there was here because this is a house that's been preserved, a museum that's been preserved, and it's just cool. It's nice.
We've found that no matter what the person's heritage is, they'll see something in a room that reminds them of their childhood or their memories, family memories. And we hear that and we love it. We love gathering up the stories as well.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think for a lot of our, especially older institutions, I know ours started out as, the commemoration of Needham's original families. They were the original incorporators were all from families that had been here since the 1600s. And the foundational collections were things that were in their particular families, which is amazing because otherwise it would never have been preserved. But the town has, obviously changed over the years, and the history of the founding, Puritan / later Unitarian families doesn't tell the whole story. So, you need to keep adding to that story because, as the town gets more diverse and has a broader population, and Needham's population has been rising very fast in the last couple of years. And changing a lot in the last couple of years, finally, which is great. But that's a whole bunch of new stories to bring in and a whole bunch of new audiences to engage and to get to be taught by. How do you celebrate the holidays? How would you like to participate with us? What can we do together? It's a whole new area of endeavor and a whole new area of opportunity that built around, as I said, built around the holidays. It's everybody's happy time. So you're not trying to build it around something that may be less like, yes, we want to talk about the history of enslavement in Needham, and we will engage the Black community in this, but you don't want everything to be dire. You also want, a happy time, what can we do that's more enjoyable, what we could do that's more positive, along with some of the, less positive aspects of history. How are we doing for time? We got 15 minutes left. Does anybody else have a comment or a question or a suggestion?
Well, Sally was asking about how to get the word out. Our town manager, who is also new to Wayland, a year or so, has started a newsletter that he puts out once a month. So it's in that. Then, of course, there's also all the social media outlets that we do. And then there are special ones like Cochituate, which is part of Wayland. They have a special email. And Wayland, way back when, which is more historically minded, and we put everything out on that too. And I think Scarlett has done some social media work also in putting things out. And this is a good way. We have them all sign in, as many as we can catch, sign in, and then we send them letters if they're not members. And yeah. Now we have another name and address to send things to.
And, Facebook is a burden and a curse, but it also is a huge opportunity. There are neighborhood Facebook pages. We don't think about it because we're not on the list. We don't live in the neighborhood. But, it's there's a long-standing, a neighborhood's been an Italian neighborhood for 4 generations now. And extremely durable. If you look at the street lists, from the 20s, the same families own the same houses as they do now. And I was talking to somebody because I'm interested in anarchist history in Needham. Needham was a anarchist stronghold in the teens and 20s, and the base of it was the headquarters of the Sacco and Vanzetti Defense Fund. And because the trial was in Dedham because of the proximity. And I was talking to somebody about how difficult it was now to get people whose grandparents I know were involved. But that sort of wartime generation was like a whole new opportunity for assimilation. And now we never talked to those people. We went to church, we never talked to those people. I'm thinking, yes, you did, because we have oral histories from your grandfather talking about his involvement. But it's hard to make that connection. And somebody said, "Oh, the neighborhood has a Facebook page that talks exactly about this. You should talk to them." It's like, who knew? Because you're not in the neighborhood, you're not part of that history. But if you can hook into some of those, if you can find some of those, um, they're also a great targeted means of getting the word out, because they have a very focused list, and people are dedicated to them, so they see it quickly, they see the reactions, and you can take advantage of something like that as well.
And I was gonna say, Sally, I think you guys are part of Boppin, right, at Wellbach Farm?
Are
The
part of.
Boston Outdoor Preschool Network.
Oh, yes, yes, we are. And
You could also
yeah.
partner with them as like a way to
Yeah.
outreach.
Yeah, and I think I was asking the question of like, how do you get the word out so people can come and like they hold their time so that they can get over, they're not all of a sudden busy with something. But I was also hoping that one of the other groups here might have had like the formula for how you like roll it out when you're ready to go and you got that opportunity. Because I'm thinking now, as everyone's talking, maybe it's a simple checklist for we're going to call these volunteers who said they would be ready in a minute if there was some fun opportunity that came up, and then, get them going. And then of course all of the social media can be put into play with the graphics and everything. But no one has done that yet. So I think I'm going to make a checklist, guys. I'm going to see if maybe there's
Making
something
a
that
list, checking it
we can
twice.
use. Yeah. So that
Well,
when we finally do get this opportunity, there might be a few friends who could rally some other friends and like get it together. Because I would think you would need some infrastructure in place to accommodate the people coming, and then the refreshment people, and then the whatever it is that you're doing there, and then of course, yeah, getting right on all media devices to make sure that all of the town groups know what's going on. So yeah, thanks for all the suggestions. So
yeah, I mean, you sort of need a hit list. Like if you
yeah,
take, for example, the snowshoeing and snowman, big snow,
yeah,
you have to have a spot to start
yeah,
with. Either the high school playing field or someplace that will let you do this. You probably, you want people build snowmen, you should have a supply of old hats, coal briquettes and
yeah,
carrots, something like that, ready to go. And then as soon as the snow hits, you have your press notice ready that says, come to the high school field at 2 o'clock tomorrow. We have hats, carrots, and charcoal briquettes. Make your snowmen and enter in a snowman contest or something like that.
yeah.
But you don't want to start saying, "Okay, this is great. It's snow now. Where are we going to do this? What do we need? Who
Right,
can do it? What's it
exactly.
gonna-" Yeah, so you
Yeah.
kind of, to some extent, have to have these. It's like emergency planning. You have them ready to go, and you might not need them in any given year, but you might just, and then if
Mhm.
it's really successful, then you'll get, sort of back up, and
All right, everyone
people
hope for
will help,
snow
or people
this
will
year.
continue to, help publicize it. But the first one, you got to be, bang ready to go.
January 2025. We're
Yeah.
gonna look for some snow from you all. So
Right. It's not to not to jinx your programming, but another snowless winter would be just fine. Yeah, Jane.
I just wanted to say that Wayland no longer has a newspaper. And for
Mm.
those of us who are old enough not to be glued to social media every minute, I find that I miss a lot of events, knowing about a lot of events because there is no paper. And
Yeah.
not going to address Sally's problems, but still, and I wonder if that hasn't impacted the number of people who come to the open house, and how we could ever determine if that's
It's made the
true.
word hard. I mean, it's made it harder to get the word out,
Well,
certainly.
it's as I say, I don't If it's on community forum, if it's on constituent diehards, but if it isn't, I may not really know about it if it's
Yeah.
because it's no longer advertised in the paper as an
Needham has
upcoming event.
2 startup newspapers,
Yeah, we have
online
one
newspapers
that's
now. We're
trying
very
now. Yeah.
fortunate in that respect. They both have bulletin boards. They post things relatively quickly. They're still new enough that getting people to look at the bulletin boards can be a challenge. Still we post
Yeah.
it, but we don't know if they see
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But
Wayland now has a startup newspaper called the Wayland Post also. But with the library, there's a group called The Spirit, and we put together all the Facebook pages that relate specifically to Wayland, and the library is going to be posting that online. So if you're interested in horseback riding, you can look it up at the library under their page to see if there's a Facebook page about that,
oh,
or
that's so smart.
swimming or sailing or whatever you want, as long as it involves Wayland community members, it's going to be on their list. And of course, we'll be on the list too, so people can check
Right.
things out.
Right.
But
That's
it's
a
a
really good
resource you
idea.
can go to and look to see where your target audience is.
Mm.
So that's one of the goals of the library. We just adopted a new strategic plan, and it was to help the dissemination and sharing of information. And
Yeah.
initially it started with helping to establish a newspaper. And by the time we approved the plan, the first issue of Wayland Post came out, and the trial piece, which is nice. For Sudbury Valley trustees, I think that Scarlett mentioned partnering with local schools, preschools and such like that, finding captains at the different schools, just like, room parent captains and stuff like that. Or the one that's really striking in Wayland is our boosters organizations at the various levels, where the recreation department, or the recreation board, not the department, has emails of different individuals who are in charge of disseminating information to their teams. So when we're all among friends. So when there is an issue that is coming up and they need, bodies, they shoot out emails to these captains, and I'm calling them captains, these head point persons, and they shoot out emails to these families. And you've got
Communication tree. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
Which people do for disasters, but nobody thinks to do it for celebrations.
Right.
Yeah, that's a great. So that's interesting. They want to do a print version of the paper.
Oh, it is in print right now.
It is.
And yes, it's just 8 pages. It's 2 large broadsheets folded in half.
Right.
And so they wanted to get it out before Christmas to ensure that people could see it, and that it is intended to be a viable, paper going forward. And then they're going to do fundraising too.
Yeah, and advertising too. But is it distributed through the mail, or do people?
No, it's in physical locations right now. So there's a bunch at the library, there's a bunch at the museum, a bunch at the town building in several locations, and other spots, which is great. And it was suggested strongly to them that they get it to the grocery stores, because we have 2 grocery stores in town. And, at the checkouts, there are the holders for the magazines and such, but you need to have the papers there, right, so that they can be seen. And right now it's at no charge. Other communities, Ipswich, Bellingham, Concord, and I've forgotten the 4th one, already have newspapers that were started, and they are all out at no charge. And they do have subscribers. They do have advertising. So the Wayland Post is looking to do some legal advertising and obituaries, because you charge. You charge to post those.
And honestly, it's one of the biggest attractions.
Yeah.
People, we don't have, neither of our papers does obituaries. So one of them is thinking of trying to put them in.
Yeah. Real estate.
It's hard to get somebody passes away in town. It's now all word of mouth. It's the Globe doesn't necessarily have it, and if they do, it's not necessarily on time. And their legacy site has gotten so difficult to use. It used to be very easy. You just click on the town, and it would give you a list, and now you have to go through all these filters to find a list that isn't 3,000 people.
Right.
So that would be, if they can do that, that's a That's
That
really
could help. Yeah. And the other communities, they really heavily, well, Wayland does not have a strong business space, but professionals, dentists, doctors,
Yeah.
accountants, whomever,
Mhm.
advertise as well. And, think of it as a public service. They might not get the generate the business that they would anticipate. Maybe they would, but thinking of it as a public service to get this newspaper going
Yeah.
would we have high hopes for it.
Okay, we are running out of time. We got 2 minutes left. So I just want to say there will be a link to the survey in our chat. We really appreciate your feedback. And within that feedback, we'd really appreciate hearing about additional programs. What other topics do you think you'd be interested in hearing about and having conversations about? We're always looking for topics for conversations. Rachel just put the survey link in the chat. So please do respond. Get on our email list, and we will see you again on, what did I say, January 10th to talk about Rev 250 and ways that the state is going to be commemorating and how we can all participate. And in the meantime, happy holidays, everybody. Have a wonderful time. Have a safe time. And we'll see you in the new year.
Thank you. Thank you for this
Bye.
opportunity.
Thank you so much, Aida. That was a great presentation, and I'm totally envious of your program.
Thank you. Thank you. Come visit next year.
Yes, thinking about that. That would be great. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.